Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We're listening to Nightcrawler.
What? I had a nightmare. Come up here. Come on. Are you okay? It was really scary. Why don't we go check on your sisters and see if they're safe? Honey, go back to bed.
Summit Township, Michigan. It's around 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, August 10th, 2014. Eric Wolf has just gotten home from his night shift at the nearby factory. His daughter Allison and soon-to-be stepdaughters Rachel and Madison are fast asleep. He decides to let his fiancée, Frances Craig, have their bedroom to herself and crashes in the living room. But it won't be a restful morning.
Dad, something's wrong.
What?
There's blood everywhere.
Okay.
Daddy?
Honey, go get your sisters and go downstairs. Get your sisters downstairs now!
Just 5 days shy of her 29th birthday, Frances Craig has been murdered in her own bedroom.
We received a 911 call of a possible deceased person called in by her fiance, Eric.
Police are securing the area when detectives arrive on the scene.
Give Daddy a second.
Hi, I'm Detective Sullivan. This is Detective Huttenlocker. Assume you're Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, yes, Eric.
Is there any sign of a break-in when you got home?
No, I don't know how this happened. We were supposed to get married in a couple months. Hey, there's no resting on the job. Come on.
I'm not. Just give me a minute, okay?
Less than 2 months from their wedding day, Franny and Eric had only just moved out of their apartment and into a house in the neighborhood of their dreams.
The girls are gonna love it.
Hey, grab a box. Help out. Come on. Let's go. They gotta put in the work too.
You can spit on the country club from where they lived.
Move it.
It was quiet. It was, they thought, safe.
Frances had helped secure their own little slice of paradise thanks to her job as a manager at a local clothing boutique.
What do you think? I love it. Do come here, come look.
She really liked the clothing store. She liked that whole aspect of it. She was very into fashion. She was very good at it. And she was working hard to save money for her wedding.
Right.
She wanted to become a district manager and run her own stores.
And all of it done with the goal of providing a better life for those around her.
Oh my gosh, this one's so cute. It's like $300. Okay, it's not that. Thank you. Should we make cookies? Yeah, right? Okay.
Everyone who knew Frances Craig seemed to love her.
You're back. She was definitely the firecracker of every party. She actually had one class clown in high school because of that. Her personality was very just outgoing and fun and free-spirited. Music. Okay. Yeah.
Definitely music.
Anyone that needed care. Franny was there. She worked 2 jobs. She took care of Eric's daughter like it was her own daughter. She hung out with those girls all the time. The sun rose and set on those 3 girls.
Are you the one who found her?
No, actually, my little daughter found her.
We knew at least one child had seen Franny deceased, so our concerns were about them. That's why we made arrangements to get them away from the house as soon as possible.
As investigators head into the house, Eric starts calling friends and family.
Hello? Okay, Eric.
The phone rang, and I thought, well, what does he want? He don't call me.
No,
And I said, is someone hurt? Is it Francis? Is it the kids? And he just kept mumbling, and finally he said, Francis is dead.
That can't be. Terry!
what's going on?
Francis is dead.
Who's this? Eric?
I got on the phone with Eric. He was uncontrollably speaking, and I said, just slow down, tell me what's going on. He said, well, she's dead. I don't want to forget it, and I don't want to remember it either.
August 10th, 2014, at 11:52, my world came to an end.
Eric also breaks the news to Franny's friends.
Is that Eric?
And he's like, she passed away last night. And I was like, shut up, put her on the phone, like I almost thought it was a joke. And I instantly hung up the phone.
Upstairs, investigators get their first look at the crime scene.
We did find a scarf, which you would assume the subject was attempting to mask her from talking.
Gagged her?
And tied her up. Check out her wrists.
And we also found zip ties, giving the impression that she had been tied up to her bed. She had broke one of her arms loose from where she was tied down.
Frances endured an agonizing death.
She was tortured. She suffered more than 20 stab wounds, additional slice wounds, all in her chest and neck and facial area.
Looking around the room, it's immediately clear the attacker's goals didn't include stealing.
No sign of robbery. Ring still on her finger.
The only thing out of the ordinary was the bed in Franny's body.
With no clear motive presenting itself in the bedroom, investigators head downstairs to see how the killer entered the house.
It seems like this family likes their windows locked up tight, but not the doors.
I go ahead and dust them all.
The main door to the residence had a problem with the locking mechanism, and that was told to us by Eric Wolf. That door was left unlocked, and also there was a side garage door that was unlocked.
So really anybody could have gained entry, but there were 3 sleeping children in that home and pets.
You think they're barking and woken somebody up?
While the body is sent to the morgue, the crime scene unit scours the home for clues. Detectives once again approach the victim's fiancé.
Eric.
When was the last time you talked to Francis?
According to Eric, Franny had taken the girls to the county fair last night and texted him before going to bed.
She told me one of the girls was having trouble sleeping.
We're talking in about the 12:40 a.m. ballpark about one of the little girls being up out of the bed and kind of being difficult to settle down that evening.
And the last text I sent her was at 1:06. She didn't respond.
They set out to check this information, but discover another potential clue.
I'm going to need to see the victim's cell phone.
We didn't find any cell phones in the house.
Really?
We discovered that her cell phone was missing. The investigators searched the whole residence, couldn't find it anywhere.
So you told us you got off work at 6. Did you not go upstairs and into the bedroom?
Yeah, I went upstairs.
You went into the bedroom?
Eric tells detectives he had gotten home just after 6 a.m. from his graveyard shift.
He had actually gone to the bedroom to go look at her, and it was still somewhat dark.
I saw Freddie on the floor.
And that didn't concern you?
No, she gets restless.
He says, I did not see the blood. I did not see everything else.
He says he decided not to disturb her and went to crash downstairs on the couch.
It was clear that he saw her body on the floor, and that for reasons we could not understand, that didn't seem to set off alarm bells in his head.
Eric's behavior, Eric's interview, Eric's statements, Eric's choices, that's what he did that night, definitely made him the very top of the suspect list from the get-go. Did I think that Eric killed Frances? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Detectives investigating the murder of Frances Craig are taking a long, hard look at her fiancé, Eric Wolf, especially after his disclosure that he saw her on the floor, then went to sleep downstairs. Until he can be cleared, arrangements have been made for Frances's 2 daughters to stay with their biological father.
It's okay. It's okay, hon.
While Eric's own daughter is taken to her grandmother.
We'd like you to come down to the station. We just need to clear up a few things, Eric. Where were you at 5 in the morning?
I told you I was at work. I work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Time of death is estimated between midnight and 5 a.m. Quick check with the factory confirms that Eric clocked in and out at the times he said.
Oh, okay. I stopped and got something to eat on the way home. I have a receipt.
Eric offered the receipt and proof of that information without having been asked. That raised a bit of a red flag. So despite Eric having a fairly airtight alibi, he remained a suspect. Part of it had to do with Eric's affect. He presented as very flat, detached.
So how would you describe your relationship to Frances?
It's good.
There simply didn't seem to be a level of emotion that you might expect finding your loved one dead in such a brutal and tragic way.
You guys fight much?
Usually.
Like many young people approaching a wedding, the couple had concerns about money. To make ends meet, Frances was working 2 jobs, including shifts at a local bar.
She was working hard. Seemed like it was all the time. She was busy, busy, busy.
With the pressure on their relationship, rumors had started.
You know, we've spoken to some of Frances's friends, and
I don't care what they say.
He was the player type. He wasn't very kind to her. 2 weeks before she was killed, she would call me and she would say, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. But then she would talk herself back into it.
I heard they were talking to Eric, and people were asking, do you think he did it?
I love her. I did not kill Frances.
When something like this happens, everybody's a suspect. You don't know who to trust.
Without any hard evidence, Eric is released, but unable to resume a normal life. In light of police suspicions of Eric, his daughter is placed with Eric's mother, while Frances's daughters stay with their biological father, Michael Ryerson.
The girls are down the hall getting settled in. We got joint custody, but a few weekends a month is different than this.
So how long were you and Frances married for?
Together for 6 years. We talked about getting married.
how long ago you guys split up?
About 2 years ago.
Frances wanted it to work out. The feeling wasn't reciprocated, so they just went their separate ways.
Michael suggests there was no hostility between him and Franny after the breakup. Police wonder if the upcoming wedding may have changed that.
The father of her children was considered as a person of interest just because Francis was engaged to be married within the next 2 months. So that was one option that we had to look at was a jealousy thing.
Detectives speculate that there is tension between Michael and the girl's future stepfather.
What could you tell me about Francis's fiance, Eric?
He's not the father.
Do you mind us asking where you were early this morning?
I was with my girlfriend. You're more than welcome to ask her.
The father of the children did give us an alibi. We did check out his alibi, and it did corroborate his story.
We'll see ourselves out.
Investigators now turn to family and friends to search for other possible enemies, and a new name surfaces.
Is there anyone that you could think of that would want to harm her?
The detectives asked my wife, who do you think might have done this? When she gave me a list of people that were living around them, and that was the first one on the list. It's Ryan.
Who's Ryan Miller?
Ryan was a friend of Eric Wolf's. Ryan and Eric had grown up together, gone to high school together, and Ryan needed a place to stay.
Ryan was living with his mother when their house burned down, leaving them temporarily homeless.
But if I could just crash with you for a little bit, just until I get her back on her feet, the insurance takes a while. And
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that.
Eric and Francis were more than happy to oblige.
Yeah, I want to help you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
After several months of letting Ryan crash on the couch, Francis wanted to make a fresh start as a family once they found their dream home.
It's time that you talk to Ryan. We agreed he wasn't going to stay here.
I know. I'll talk to him.
Franny basically wanted to start their new relationship with just Eric and the children.
Okay.
Didn't want Ryan to come with them.
In June, when they did find a house to move to, they did tell Ryan that he was going to have to find someplace else to live as they were going to get married in the fall.
Detectives wonder if that parting of ways could have sparked a hidden rage in Ryan. As police look for the former roommate to question him, they're also determined to find Francis's cell phone.
So you guys said you need some customer location info?
Yeah, we're investigating the murder of a local woman, Frances Craig.
I contacted the phone company, was informed that the phone is actually still active, so we asked for GPS coordinates of it.
They're in luck. Franny's phone is pinging very close to her home.
It was dark at that time, so the next morning we searched on foot for the cell phone.
We thought that possibly the cell phone had contained some information that was relevant to the case as the reason it was taken. We searched the field initially and did not find the cell phone.
You tried again, see if it pings?
But it's only a matter of time before the battery power fails.
We attempted to have the cell phone pinged again, but at that time the cell phone had died.
It's a huge setback for the investigation. But back at the station, detectives make a startling discovery.
This could be it.
We located a large sum of money that had been deposited into Francis Craig's bank account.
It will lead them to a whole family of suspects.
Francis was very scared that they were going to come get her. Their Facebook pages had pictures of them holding guns.
She was scared. She was scared to death.
Investigators working the Frances Craig murder in Michigan have turned up a new lead hiding in her financial records. It sends them racing back to her parents' house.
Do you know anything about this bank deposit?
We located a large sum of money that had been deposited into Francis Craig's bank account.
This is a settlement for an incident that occurred 2 years ago.
What kind of incident?
It was a couple of shoplifters.
Francis's parents explain it all started at the clothing store she was managing about 45 minutes away in Lansing. Francis caught two sisters shoplifting. They weren't going down without a fight.
She was trying to address the situation
one thing led to another. She was assaulted.
She's scared to death to go back there. Matter of fact, she didn't go back there.
Police eventually arrest the assailants, giving Frances a chance to take the battle to court.
And at some point, she does sue the family and does receive a judgment.
Frances was granted a settlement of several $1,000s, but unfortunately, that wasn't all she got.
Something wrong? They're threatening me. Look at these.
Shortly after the suit was settled, she did receive a couple threats about that incident that had happened.
Frances was very scared that they were going to come get her. There were times that she was very nervous about that, and there was a couple nights that she actually came and spent the night at my house. You need to go to the police and report this. I know, but what if it just makes it worse? Think of the girls.
It's been a year since the shoplifters last threatened Frances, but detectives wonder if they finally made good on their threats.
We'll get back to you.
We looked at everyone that was involved in assaulting her and everyone that could have been affected by the lawsuit itself. See if we could clear them or continue with them as suspects.
Now, days after the murder, Frances's missing cell phone still plagues investigators.
Staying away.
A formal request is filed to obtain her phone records, but the phone itself might yield additional evidence, so the search for it continues.
The following day, we had a lot of volunteers search the area for the cell phone. We thought based on the terrain that the GPS could be off a little bit. It was kind of a hilly area.
Detectives!
We were successful in locating it.
The only problem, it's almost completely destroyed.
Looks like there's blood on it.
We recovered the phone. It had been out in the elements for 3 days, so we sent it to the crime lab.
Couldn't lift any prints, couldn't retrieve any data. We split it open and there wasn't even a SIM card.
With nothing to extract from the phone, detectives theorize Frances may have kept records related to the shoplifting case on the family computer. So they pay Eric another visit, with a search warrant in hand.
It's right here.
But before they can access Frances's files, they make a shocking discovery.
Oh, look at this.
It was uncovered that Eric had an online dating profile. There were several other women with whom he was interacting.
And his profile and chat records only add to the mounting suspicion of Eric Wolf.
It does raise suspicion and also can provide a motive if he had met another female or was unhappy in the relationship and didn't want to be in it any longer.
So what do you want to tell us about this dating service?
Things between Frances and me have been strained.
When you talked to him about that dating profile at the time of Franny's death, he had said, we had had some ups and downs. I had made that during one of the downs, but I still had every intention of marrying her, come our wedding. We didn't know this was a way for him to get out of the wedding without having to go through the wedding or what his thinking was in this.
With suspicion at a fever pitch, detectives revisit Eric's alibi by paying a visit to the factory and speaking to Eric's boss about his overnight shift on the night of the murder.
Really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Anytime.
The couple lived minutes away. They want to check the company's security cameras to see if there's any way Eric could have slipped away unnoticed.
Okay, this is the entire footage from that evening.
And this is Eric's workstation?
Yes, it is.
Detectives scrub every frame of the surveillance footage.
However, we could not put Mr. Wolf on videotape for the 12 hours that he was at the factory.
You sure he wasn't at a different workstation?
He could be on the floor.
With so many areas of the factory not under video surveillance, it's impossible to account for all of Eric's time. Investigators learn Eric's punched time card may not be much help either, considering he and Francis lived just minutes from the factory.
I'm gonna go hit the restaurant, right?
Okay.
The business does require a swipe card to come in and out of the building. It was possible that Mr. Wolf could have used someone else's swipe card and exited the building. We were unsure.
It's conceivable he could have snuck away during his break, killed Francis, then returned to work without being missed.
You got a long time.
Yeah. Eric may have had motive as well as opportunity, but there's just not enough hard evidence stacked up against him. With lab results still pending, investigators anticipate finding Eric's DNA at the crime scene since he lived there. But as the days go by, friends and family are left in an agonizing limbo.
It literally was the worst. Not only was the person that you cared about gone, but you didn't know why. You had no idea why. Or who did it. And all you thought was maybe it was Eric because he didn't care about it the way he professed to. I just was so unsure of who could have done this. Like, am I talking to the right person about this? Am I talking to the enemy?
Then, 3 months after the murder, the lab results are finally in. The only DNA found at the crime scene belongs to the victim and her fiancé, Eric Wolf, except for one unexpected item.
I found something on the zip ties.
Yeah, what'd you find?
Some DNA belongs to the victim, but then there was someone else's DNA.
I had known samples from Eric Wolf, and I was able to compare those to the zip ties, and I was able to exclude Eric Wolf. I was totally flabbergasted when I found out that Eric wasn't even a suspect any longer.
In a stunning development, Eric seems to be off the hook, but an even bigger shock will come with the name of the new suspect.
Well, I ran the results through CODIS and got a match.
3 months after Frances Craig was stabbed to death in her bed outside Jackson, Michigan, there's a development that could breathe new life into the case.
I've got something on the zip ties.
I entered the DNA profile that I obtained from the zip ties from that crime scene into our CODIS database, and I had a hit to an offender.
One of the zip ties used to bind Frances yields traces of DNA from someone entirely new to the investigation.
A guy by the name of Cortez Butler.
The 42-year-old Detroit resident has a violent past.
He had served over 20 years in prison for a second-degree murder that occurred in Detroit.
Detectives want him off the streets as soon as possible.
Excuse me, I'm gonna make a call.
It was quickly almost as frustrating as it was exhilarating.
Yeah, this is Detective Sullivan with the Jackson County Sheriff's.
We made Detroit PD aware that we were investigating him. At this point, our prosecutor wasn't prepared to issue a warrant for him, so we had to build a stronger case against Cortez Butler.
How that DNA got on those zip ties was certainly an unknown as well. Did it look suspicious? Absolutely. Is it possible that somebody worked in a store that stocked the zip ties, could have touched them? All of those things were discussed.
Right. Okay, thank you.
We started pulling everything that we could think of. His criminal history, his previous addresses, basically anything that could draw him back to Jackson or any of the people involved in our investigation.
Okay, thanks. I got it.
Butler's previous homicide was a murder for hire, which raises another possibility for Jackson detectives.
Why would Butler want to kill Francis? What's the motive?
We thought, well, Eric must have hired Cortez to kill Francis, so we were trying to link the two of them together.
To do that, they wait and see if Eric will get sloppy.
Oh, look at this.
Simply because someone else's DNA was found on the zip ties on Franny's body did not clear Eric Wolf in our mind. he remained the only person who we knew could possibly desire to have her dead.
This is Huttenlocker.
Detroit PD contacts Jackson detectives. Their newest suspect can't seem to stay out of trouble for long.
Yeah, I'll get right back to you.
Detroit police are looking at Butler for yet another murder for hire that just occurred a few days ago.
They told us that they were getting ready to execute a search warrant and wanted to know if we wanted to come to Detroit to witness that and possibly interview him.
It's the only live lead detectives trying to solve Franny's murder have left. Tracking Butler through Detroit, police initiate an arrest while Jackson investigators look on.
Cortez Butler, you are under arrest. Get up.
I ain't getting up.
Get up. Get up. Get up.
After being booked by the Detroit Police Department, Jackson County investigators get their first crack at Cortez Butler.
I want to show you something. You know this man? His name is Eric Wolf.
Nope.
What about her?
I don't have a clue who she is.
Cortez Butler had a habit of not talking and certainly not incriminating himself.
You recognize these?
Never seen him before.
Any idea why your DNA would be all over them?
He was confronted with the fact that his DNA was on the zip ties. He didn't really have anything he wanted to say about that.
Instead, Butler tries playing the only card he's got.
Unless you guys can do something about these murder charges that I'm facing, I want to talk to you.
This suspect isn't cracking, and detectives walk away with nothing. Trying to find a way to break through Butler's wall of silence, investigators track down an old girlfriend of his.
How long ago did you date Mr. Butler?
About a year ago, right after he got out of prison. She had said he had told her that he was a hitman, and that he had bodies everywhere, and we were never going to be able to prove it. Who knows if there's some truth there?
You're not going to tell him I was here talking to you, are you?
You're fine. If someone hired Butler to kill Francis, detectives hope to find proof in his cell phone records. And they're not disappointed.
Have a look at this. Ted Butler's phone pinged in the same town where Francis lived around the time of her murder.
Guy lives in Detroit. Jackson's nearly 80 miles away.
There were 3 particular dates that the phone showed activity here in Jackson, Michigan. And that, of course, popped immediately. The first time the phone was here in Jackson was August 6th. The second date was August 8th. And the third time was August 10th, the date that Franny was born.
Phone call? That's the one.
Investigators are convinced Eric Wolf secretly hired the Detroit hitman to get rid of his fiancée. But they can't find any phone records linking Eric to Cortez Butler.
It felt like somebody had to know something. There would be a lot of information in the media that detectives had said that they thought they were getting somewhere. There was a time where it felt like it was coming to an end, like really quick, and it was nowhere near.
It's not until December 2014, 4 months after the murder, Cortez Butler decides to play ball.
Hey, guard! I need something. I need you to get word to these 2 detectives. Tell them I got some important information for them.
What's just that?
Just tell them I got the information they've been looking for.
Detectives investigating the murder of young mother Frances Craig have violent criminal Cortez Butler in their sights. And now, after weeks of denying any involvement, the alleged hitman is ready to talk.
You wanted to see us?
Yeah, I'm ready to tell you what you want to know.
In exchange for what?
That I do my time in federal prison as opposed to state prison. I got enemies, you know.
Yeah, we can talk to the DA.
First, however, they wanted to know, what is it that you know?
So what do you know about Eric Wolf?
I honestly don't know an Eric Wolf.
Butler explains the real connection between himself and Frances was her fiance's best friend, Ryan Miller.
He was a drug dealer in Jackson. He and his mom, Diana, they was moving a lot of drugs, and they wanted out.
Ryan and his mother were low-level dealers for a man named Rodney McKee.
You just don't walk away from this. We're done with this. We're out.
Get the hell out of our home.
Only thing is, they don't let you out.
McKee left, but it wasn't the last Ryan and his mother heard from him.
He called her, he texted her, it was incessant.
Okay, this is ridiculous. Again.
Is that like the sixth one that's out?
Yeah.
It was so bad that actually Ryan and his mother called the police to report. Listen, he won't leave us alone.
Oh, officer, I'd like to make a report.
When Ryan involved the police, it sent McKee over the edge. The next day, he was back, bent on getting revenge.
During broad daylight, Ryan actually witnesses Rodney pouring gasoline on the house that Ryan and his mother were staying in. And lit it on fire. He wasn't afraid that people were going to see him, just had no fear of consequences.
I gotta get my stuff. It's okay. I gotta get out of here.
The speed with which that home was engulfed in flames is staggering. I still am amazed that nobody was permanently injured or killed in that fire. That house literally burned to the ground.
Ryan was unwilling to back down after the near-death experience. He told police he would testify against McKee in the arson case. While waiting for the trial to start, he asked Eric and Frances for a place to stay. They were unaware that Ryan's life could be in danger.
Excuse me for just a second.
While out on bail and awaiting trial on arson charges, McKee makes one last attempt to silence Ryan for good and uses his connections to hire a hitman.
2 racks. I can do that. You name Ryan.
They agreed on a price for $10,000 to have Cortez Butler assassinate the eyewitness in the arson case.
That's when a tragic mistake was made.
Now, he's staying with some friends right now, but I'm going to follow him and the address.
Information he received was that Ryan had lived with Frances Craig and Eric. They assumed Ryan moved with them and assumed Ryan lived there as well.
On August 10th, 2 months after Ryan no longer lived with Franny and Eric and had relocated to another town, Butler puts the plan into action.
Who are you? No! Oh, who are you?
He ties her up with the zip ties because he knows at that point she can identify him.
Where's Ryan? Ryan Miller, I know he lives here.
I don't know what you're talking about. Ryan doesn't live here.
Cortez said I had to take her out because she kept trying to look at me and she wouldn't sit still and she wouldn't do what I needed her to do. I think she fought till the very end and so very hard to protect those 3 girls, but also protect Ryan and at the cost of probably her own life.
Kind of threw us off a little bit for the simple fact she had multiple stab wounds. Typically, you figure in a hitman, he's going to kill her and he's going to move on. There appeared to be a fit of rage.
Butler looks through Francis's cell phone as he leaves, hoping it has Ryan Miller's contact information, but he quickly discovers it doesn't. After Butler left the house, the murder probably would have remained unsolved forever, but for one small slip-up.
Only link we had Cortez to the crime scene prior to Cortez's statement was that DNA that was found in the zip ties.
You asked how my DNA got on those zip ties. The only reason it did is because I put them in my pocket whenever I was leaving Detroit to get ready to drive here. I ain't have on my gloves then. If I put them on in Detroit, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
But for that mistake, we might never have known.
In February 2015, investigators determined Eric Wolf was not involved in the murder of his fiancée. Cortez Butler and Rodney McKee are charged with murder and home invasion in the first degree and are tried together.
I was there for a lot of it. I've actually seen the pictures of the crime scene and how bad she was really hurt and how many times she was stabbed. A lot of people didn't understand why. Like, why do you want to see that? Why? So I felt like as part of closure, like I had to see.
Both defendants are found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And so, oh my God, for nothing, for absolutely frickin' nothing. Because my daughter might identify. There's just no way she could identify that. I won't even call him a monster. He's not even a person.
There's nothing that could ever make up for what they did to her. And for the hurt that they caused on so many people. And I hate those people for taking her.
Frank was the definition of collateral damage. Frank just happened to just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that wrong place, the wrong time was in her own bed, in her own house, doing absolutely nothing wrong.
Everything reminds me of her. I wake up thinking of her. I go to bed thinking of her. I stay home a lot because if I go out, she's everywhere. Everywhere there's a memory. I haven't got to the place where it doesn't hurt yet. So.
This is for you. What is it? Open it. Oh, wow. I want you to be my bridesmaid. Oh. You were born to wear a tiara.
Well, I don't know about that. Okay, fine. It looks good on you.
Thanks, T. Oh, one sec, guys. Sorry, guys. I have a minor emergency.
What's up? What happened?
Nothing I can't handle.
Okay, fine. Come here. Love me, sis.